The forest is a beautiful place full of life and wonder, but it's also one of the most terrifying places in the world. It's dark, it's eerie, and if you don't know what you're doing, you could easily get lost and never come back. The woods have been the setting for countless horror movies, but there are some legends that are so terrifying they would make even the most seasoned horror movie fan cower in fear. When it comes to scary stories from the woods, Japan has some of the best. And today, we're going to tell you about one of the scariest ghosts in Japanese folklore, Yurei. The term Yurei refers to a type of ghost in Japanese folklore that is typically depicted as the soul of a person who has died an unnatural or violent death and is unable to move on to the afterlife. You can think of it as a more general term for ghost, similar to the Western concept of a spirit or apparition. You may be asking yourself why this story comes from Japan, and the answer is simple. There is a certain level of respect paid to the dead in Japanese culture. While the West tends to focus on living life to the fullest, the East focuses on respecting their elders and ancestors, even the ones that aren't really there anymore. In Japan, they believe that when someone dies, their soul does not immediately go to heaven or hell. Instead, it lingers on Earth for a certain amount of time, usually around 49 days. If the soul is not properly taken care of during this time, it can become a Yurei. In most cases, a Yurei is an angry, vengeful spirit that seeks to inflict harm on those who are still alive. This is especially true if the person was killed in a horrible way. When these spirits are roaming around, people can see them and hear them, and sometimes they even interact with them. In modern times, these types of interactions are usually confined to horror movies, but in reality, these apparitions are quite dangerous. If you were to encounter a Yurei, they would probably appear to you in your dreams. These dreams are usually very vivid, and the ghost will try to communicate with you in some way, usually by trying to lead you to them or to the place where they died. If you followed them, it would lead you into danger. Even if you didn't follow them and just saw them in a dream, they could still affect you in negative ways. Dreams of a Yurei can cause you to feel dread and depression. Some people have even driven themselves insane because of these types of dreams. In order to avoid being haunted by a Yurei, people must perform a ritual known as Oya Kuban. This is essentially a prayer that is said to calm the restless spirit and allow it to move on to the afterlife. In some cases, however, the Yurei is simply too powerful for this to work, and that's when things get bad. There are several different types of Yurei, but let's take a look at the most common ones you might encounter. We'll start with the most recognizable type, the woman in white. She is perhaps the most famous type of Japanese ghost, and she's always depicted as a woman wearing a white kimono. Usually, the woman in white is seen as a bad omen, and seeing one is said to bring bad luck. According to legend, the woman in white is the ghost of a woman who died an unnatural death, such as being killed by her lover or being abandoned on the side of the road. Women in white can be seen during the Hungry Ghost Festival, which takes place every August. During this festival, it's believed that the gates to the underworld are opened and spirits are allowed to roam the earth. Next up, we have the Nopera Bo, and this is one ghost you wouldn't want to meet down a dark alley. They're kind of like the boogeyman in Western culture, except they're a little bit more specific than that. A Noperabo is a type of ghost that has no face, hence the name No Face. You've probably heard of the story of the faceless woman who gets off the train at Shinjuku Station in Tokyo and then walks down the street without a head. Well, this story is actually an urban legend based on the Noprabu. Now, imagine for a moment that you're walking home alone through the park late at night and you see a woman sitting on a bench. You walk a little closer and you realize that she doesn't have a face. That's pretty terrifying, isn't it? Now imagine she starts to walk towards you. But the scariest type of Yurei has got to be the Takaku. When you think of a typical ghost, you're probably imagining something that looks like this, maybe a little bit creepy, but ultimately something that won't hurt you. Takaku are definitely not like that. They're actually demonic entities that possess humans and cause them to do unspeakable things. If you ever encounter one, you should probably run away and hide. And don't bother with holy water either. These things are not like normal ghosts. Now that you know some of the most common types of Yurei, let's take a look at one particular case that happened in Japan. The story goes back to the early 20th century, and it tells the tale of a man named Ishikawa Gammon. One day, while he was working in the fields, he saw a strange-looking woman. She had long black hair, pale skin, and was wearing a white kimono. He tried to talk to her, but she didn't respond. So he called out to her again, this time asking if she needed help. Still, she didn't respond, so he decided to follow her. He chased her through the fields, and eventually she disappeared. From that day forward, Ishikawa began seeing the woman in his dreams. She would appear to him every night and beckon with her finger for him to follow. He always refused, though, and eventually the dreams stopped. However, the woman appeared to him once again years later, and this time she told him that she was a ghost who needed his help. She explained that she had died an unnatural death and was unable to move on to the afterlife. She asked Ishikawa to build her a tomb so that she could finally rest in peace. Of course, he agreed and set about building the tomb as she had instructed. When it was finished, Ishikawa returned to the field where he had first seen the ghost. He dug a hole and placed the coffin inside. As he was about to bury it, however, he heard a voice behind him. He turned around and saw the ghost standing over him. She was no longer wearing a white kimono, but instead was dressed in all black. Ishikawa was terrified, but the ghost merely smiled at him and disappeared. From that day forward, the ghost never appeared to Ishikawa again. Now, you may be wondering, why did the ghost ask Ishikawa to build her a tomb? Well, in Japanese culture, it's believed that if a person is buried in a tomb that was built specifically for them, it helps their soul to move on to the afterlife. This is because the tomb serves as a physical manifestation of the person's connection to the world of the living. By building a tomb for the ghost, Ishikawa was able to sever her ties to the physical world and allow her to pass on. In Japanese culture, there's a lot of emphasis placed on respecting the dead. It's believed that if you don't properly take care of the bodies of your loved ones, their souls will wander the earth as restless spirits. This is why funerals and other memorial services are so important in Japanese culture. They allow the family to properly say goodbye to their loved ones and allow their souls to find peace. If you've made it this far, chances are you're interested in this kind of stuff. You might want to check out another video about Japanese ghosts. As you can see, Japanese folklore is full of terrifying creatures that haunt the forests. From the woman in white to the headless ghost, these stories are sure to give you nightmares. But they also offer a glimpse into an ancient culture that's rich in tradition and history. So next time you're in the woods, be sure to keep an eye out for these spooky specters. And if you hear a strange noise or see a strange shadow, run away fast. You may just be witnessing a Japanese ghost. So what do you think of these Japanese ghosts? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.